Hello, my name is Kalie Savage and I am a dietetic intern from Bowling Green State University, and today I'm going to be talking to you about the importance of carbohydrates. So to begin, I'm going to talk about what fuels us. There are three main nutrients that we get when we consume food, and these are carbohydrates, fat, and protein. Humans run mainly on carbohydrates. They are the body's main energy source, and carbohydrates get broken down into glucose, which is the brain's preferred energy source. So, if you are not getting enough carbohydrates in your body, you are depriving your body of energy, and you are also depriving your brain of glucose, so it won't be able to work as efficiently. Fat and protein are backup energy sources. Using these as energy isn't really the body's preferred way to get energy. They are broken down actually when the body isn't receiving enough carbohydrates. And this is seen usually during a state of starvation or when the body isn't being fueled properly or isn't receiving enough food in general. So this can cause negative side effects such as unhealthy muscle or fat loss. Here's a basic nutrient breakdown. This table shows the percentage of calories that should come from carbs, protein, and fat each day. So the percentage of calories that should come from carbohydrates each day is about 45 to 65%. Protein is 10 to 35%, and fat is 20 to 35%. So as you see, we're supposed to be getting a majority of our calories from carbohydrates. That way our body is able to function properly and is getting enough energy it needs to succeed, I guess you could say. People seem to have a preconceived idea that all carbohydrates are bad, which is not true. There are actually two types of carbohydrates, and it is very important to distinguish between the two. There are what I like to call always carbs, and then there are what I like to call sometimes carbs. Now, always carbs are going to be your healthy carbohydrates. They're also called complex carbs, which some of you may have heard of. They contain many vitamins and minerals, as well as fiber, and fiber is important for digestive health, and it also helps you feel full for longer. The types of foods that these carbohydrates can be found in are fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. And whole grains include things such as brown rice, whole wheat pasta, and whole wheat bread. Sometimes carbohydrates are carbohydrates that you don't want to eat every day. These are your sweets and your treats and things that you should maybe eat 1 to 2 times a week. They're also called simple carbohydrates or simple sugars. They break down very easily in the body, and they have little to no nutritional value. They can be found in candy, pop, and any other sugary foods or beverages. So your complex carbohydrates or your always carbohydrates should be eaten every day. There's a new diet that's been growing in popularity. It's called the ketogenic diet. This diet severely restricts carbohydrates and encourages high fat in the diet. And as you can see from my little pie chart to the left, it wants about 75% of your calories per day to come from fat and only a very little to come from carbs. Protein isn't really affected. So since carbohydrates are the body's main source of energy or preferred source of energy, severely restricting carbohydrates is going to result in negative side effects. Most of these negative side effects are related to the brain not getting the glucose that it needs to function properly. So as we stated before, you're going to maybe feel symptoms such as fatigue or the inability to focus or just feeling groggy, kind of sick almost. And people who are participating in the ketogenic diet call this the keto flu. And they get very excited when they start to notice symptoms of the keto flu because this is how they know the diet is working. However, feeling these negative side effects should be their first clue that maybe this diet isn't the most healthy option. I like to call this diet a fad diet. It falls into the category of a fad diet, and basically these diets are ones that grow in popularity when they're first introduced but then die down when people realize that they don't really work or they aren't really that healthy. A more recent Example of a fad diet is the Atkins diet. This diet was high protein instead of high fat and again low carbohydrates, so restricting the carbohydrates. And people lost weight at first, but then once they stopped the diet, because again it's not sustainable, you can't be on these types of diets for a long period of time because your body just won't run efficiently. It can't run on high protein and or high fat and low carbohydrates, so it has to be stopped at some point. And once the people stopped this diet, they gained the weight back and even then some. And then also the high protein that they were consuming negatively affected their kidneys, so some people even went into renal failure. So these fad diets again are not sustainable and they are not healthy. The types of foods that are in the ketogenic diet are again high fat, low carbohydrate. So it encourages increased consumption of red meats and high fat dairy and other high fat foods, while encouraging a decreased consumption of whole grains, fruits, and starchy vegetables. So this is negative because it increases saturated fat while also decreasing the fiber and the vitamins and minerals that I discussed that people receive when they eat complex carbohydrates, which are the carbohydrates that you're supposed to eat every day. So again, this diet is not healthy and it is not sustainable. So increasing your intake of saturated fat negatively affects your lipid profile. So an increased consumption of saturated fat is contributed to increased cholesterol. And then decreasing whole grains and fruits and vegetables will decrease essential vitamin and mineral intake. And both of these coupled together increases one's risk for developing chronic diseases over time, one of these being cardiovascular disease. So if losing weight is your main goal, you want to eat a healthy, well-balanced diet and incorporate exercise into your daily regimen instead of partaking in a fad diet that won't last because it's not sustainable and that's also not healthy. So I hope you found this information beneficial, and I hope you realize now that carbohydrates aren't the enemy. You can eat them. You should eat them every day, and they will help keep you happy and healthy. Thank you for listening.